Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, and I am joined back again by Mr. Harry Jobson.
Yes, the seasoned guest. I am glad to be here. I quite like the film we're covering. Well, I'm always glad to be
And
here. But
I know, yeah, it's a 2 weeks since we've done it. Things it's hard to plan shit. Sometimes things happen, and you just can't get people to record. So,
yeah.
and things, life just gets in the way of things. But we are going to be talking about this week Nobody, the 2021 film. That's what we're going to talk about today.
That long ago.
Yeah,
4 years ago.
Like crazy, man. I was in high school then. Like that's how long ago.
We both would have been.
We were both in
I
our
must have watched
final
that
year,
at the Lismore's. Yeah, graduating year. I would have had to have watched that because I had a bit of an anecdote that I've actually seen this film in cinemas when it came out, and I thought it was up in Brisbane that I watched it, but it must have been Lismore Cinema before it obviously flooded. But yeah, that's
Well, I to before we get into the film like properly, we've talked about a lot of films. You and I, Harry, on this show, we talk about films a lot, just in general. I feel like we might have talked about this before, but you feel because I mean, for the listeners, if this is your first episode you're listening to, Harry's more of a comedy guy. Not that you don't like other films, of course, but you do really gravitate more towards comedy. But like, sort of, where are you with sort of action? Because you like your superhero stuff, of not superhero like action films. Like, where do you stand on those, like the Die Hards and that kind of thing? Just sort of in general, sort of less
I thought it
genre
was
heavy.
so.
Action films,
So more like action films that are distinctly like purely action films or almost purely action films that we can talk about. I think John Wick falls into that category. Now I mean, comedy action I'm a big fan of, with like Kingsman, that sort of thing, but genuine action as well. Regardless, like I enjoy Die Hard. I don't mind Fast and the Furious, Triple X, Fast and the Furious, like the first couple, but like Triple X, obviously superheroes, but that leans slightly more into comedy. That's more of a it's a genre similar, like sci-fi is a genre. I think superheroes is its own genre.
Superhero
it
is
sort of
it's like
exists
they're like
outside of
types
action.
of action films, but even then, not all superhero films are like action film. Like Joker is like a superhero film, for example, but it's not an action film. It's more of just like a drama.
Yeah, they're not.
Comic book has sort of a bit.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive, but I do think that I mean, this is John Wick, right? This is not John Wick. Obviously, it's Bob Odenkirk, but it's John Wick. In like
which we did an episode on John Wick a couple 2 years ago now, I think. We did an episode on John Wick, so go listen to that if you.
And but and I know that they recently came out with Ballerina as well, but I really enjoyed Nobody when it came out. I thought it was like a pure action movie to go watch. Watching with certain friends that I know enjoy action, but I thought this film was like great, especially at the time, and then on a rewatch as well, holds up really well. Obviously, that the bus scene is a standout in choreography, but I like the fight choreography is always something next level with these, and this brings John Wick back to what it's like more. It's like a grounded take on it. It hasn't gone into its sort of where it loses itself a bit, I think, in the later films, and that's what I've said before. And I think it's like Nobody, at least the initial film, is like refreshing. It's like, okay, we get sort of more of the same, but it's also what we want.
I rewatched this for the purposes of this because it had been a few years. And yeah, I really like it. I really good. I mean, yeah, there's obviously comparisons to John Wick, but I think this is vastly superior to the John Wick film. Not that I dislike John Wick, but I think the problem with John Wick for me is they played a bit too like I think there's a bit more lightheartedness to this, whereas
Yeah,
John
well,
Wick for
because it
me,
knows it's Bob Odenkirk, right?
yeah,
John
and
Wick is
also there's a
too
sense of like
badass.
the thing is the problem with John Wick as well is he's kind of very unbeatable. Like
Yeah,
does he just can room of like 20 guys and just kill them all in 20 seconds and he doesn't take like any damage. And that's just not at a certain point that just becomes boring. You know? Like whereas in this film, Bob Odenkirk gets the shit kicked out of him. Um he like gets
and
really like he gets fucked up in this film. Like Bob Odenkirk gets really
yeah,
hurt in this, but he was also like 60 something. Like he was around that age 60 when he did this, so it makes sense. Like it's not like he's
yeah,
like Mary Sue can just he can kick ass, but he'll take some damage while he's doing so. Which I think
yeah.
works.
And I mean, that's telling as well, because again, and I think a lot of this episode it will be on Nobody, but it's about how it juxtaposes to its sister series, which is John Wick, um,
Mm.
and sort of the contrast between the two, and like how they speak about each other. And it starts with the the
Mm.
first poster of the film. The theatrical release poster of Nobody is Bob Odenkirk having fists like going towards his face. He's actually getting punched in one of them. He's cut, he's
Yeah,
scarred, he's like, and he's just getting the shit beaten out of him. And for John Wick 2, it's the sister film about when it came out. Oh, well, John Wick 2 was what, 2017? But is just John Wick with
2017.
like a
Yeah,
few cuts on his head, but the exact same poster, but instead of fists, it's guns.
yeah, which
And
just doesn't.
that
Yeah,
speaks about how Nobody grounds itself a little more. It does get the way that it ends is a little wacky with Christopher Lloyd, which I do think is hilarious, and I
yeah,
think
it's a
that
bit
it's
silly, but I think it does enough beforehand to sort of be like, yeah, I can allow like a few
you
like
can let it have a bit of silliness,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which I think is okay. I think the thing with John Wick is they've just become ridiculous films. And like, not that I don't like them, but they're just like the end of the third one where John Wick just falls like from the top of a
Oh, that was yeah.
building, and he just isn't dead. Like he falls from like a several story building, and he just gets up, and
Yeah, dust
he
himself
just
off.
the Laura. Yeah, it's like, come on, that's a bit silly. Which I think like as much as I don't mind those films, I just think the thing with John Wick is people think they're really like cool, and I don't care for that. I don't care that they're like he's like this cool guy kills a lot of people. It's just not. That's kind of boring to me. I like that Bob Odenkirk's Hutch is just like he's like he's a retired like he's a dad bait. He's like a dad, and he's sort of thrown back into this world, and he just has to kick some ass and has but because the John Wick the films are very like silly superficial.
Yeah.
The first one's like a revenge film, like they killed his dog, which isn't great, but he then slaughters hundreds of people, and it doesn't quite work for me, unfortunately, in the way that it's clearly intended to.
Yeah, and I mean that's the similar for me. It's just a much larger scale, which and again that's why I sort of have a softer spot for Nobody. And I mean that's not a spoiler.
Mm.
Again, like implore you to go listen to that John Wick episode where we spoke about it because I didn't really rate them that highly. I did like the first two, um, and
Yeah, I think
yeah,
you
but
and I we had opposite opinion Like my favorite was I think like your least favorite or something, and my least favorite was your favorite. I don't remember exactly. Don't
Yeah.
listen to it. It's because I don't remember exactly, but I know we disagreed on like which was the best one and which was the worst one from my memory. But yeah, to talk nobody a bit more. I mean, to just jump into it, that bus action sequence is fantastic. Like that is a
Oh, it's phenomenal.
great piece of making. It's weird because in 2021 there were two films where the best scene was the bus fight. There was also in Shang-Chi, there was the
Shang-Chi.
bus fight scene in Shang-Chi,
Yeah.
which was, yeah, like the best scene in that film from my memory of it anyway, I remember. And I don't know, there's just something about a bus sequence that just is cool, like just is fun. Like it's hard to explain it like the idea like fights in very enclosed spaces just works so well for me and why I like them
It's
because
a ship in a bottle. It's just a contained choreography, I think. Well, that's the way I've
yeah,
always seen it for me. It's like
yeah.
containing it because if it's outside or if it's in an environment that has too many like movable and removable objects, then you're adding in way too many variables where they can go. Why don't they just run away? What's this? This is okay.
Yeah.
You've put them in a tube, like you put them in a container
Mm.
with very
Yeah.
little things that are removable and a lot of poles and ropes that they can mount off, and it's completely believable. Buses are designed almost
Yeah.
designed like a two-dimensional platform fighter. Like if you look at a bus on a side
Mm.
cut open, it's got like a high bit and a low bit and then poles and ropes and stuff. It's the
Yeah.
perfect
And
spot
also
for it. Like I
yeah.
just
And the thing with buses and I guess to an other like enclosed spaces like that is because it's such a limited space, there's there's the bit in the nobody fight where he, breaks like one of those like poles they have, like, that people like hold on to, like he breaks one of those down and uses that as
yeah.
like, it's like that kind of thing where you have to be a bit more innovative with like how you film it and
And
what you do with
deliberate as well.
the and deliver,
Everything's
yeah,
more
because
deliberate.
but also it's you can't lose the sort of the geography of it. Like there's some action sequence films where sequence and it's like a big and you sort of lose the geography a bit. Like, oh, I thought oh, but they're there. Like with a bus or something, it's contained. Or it all is, it's that sort of yeah
You're not
geography or
gonna lose.
anything,
Oh,
which is
there
a
are
thing about it.
goons coming in from off camera or something. You know, like
Yeah,
there are more
exactly.
coming in
Whereas
from off camera.
yeah, and I think what works so well about this film, just in general, is the action filmmaking is fantastic. Like I good action filmmaking because it's a bit of a lost art. I think like just because of how
Oh, definitely.
film
CG,
like
everything.
CG become more of a thing, so you don't get the good practical stunt work as much anymore. Certainly not in the way that used to, which is a shame. I understand why
I
studios
think
not do it, but
one of the
it's just unfortunate.
I think one of the best visual progressions of that is the Star Wars franchise and how in the prequels, if you look at behind the scenes footage of them filming, the sheer choreography that went into lightsaber battles between Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, they built up a genuine real life rivalry and and it added to their characters. You could tell when you were watching it. And like that, and then look at the
Mm,
Disney Star Wars films. Disney Star Wars films are like and that's it. Like they just do one thing. It's like not choreographed at all, and it's incredibly sloppy. Whereas like when you look at the genuine like fencing instructions that they learned for those battles, it was pure. Like
mm,
it looks so fluid and beautiful. Like it has been like an art. Good choreography is art,
mm,
and nobody does it really well, especially in contrast to like a lot
mm,
of newer and even at the time when the film came out, action movies. Like the biggest action movie of 2021, Spider-Man: No Way
mm.
Home, where everything was done on a green screen and it was,
Yeah. And I
you
mean,
know,
as much as I like Spider-Man No Way, and I like a lot of Marvel films. They do use a
I
lot of
liked it as
CGI
well.
though.
Yeah,
Like Like, there's a lot of,
Which
scenes
is
where
necessary, I get it,
there's,
right?
like,
It's hard to
you know
practically
get
film,
it. For
Galactus.
something like a superhero film, like that kind of film, I'm like, sure, I expect some CGI. But even not, you know, action films that don't really require, like, heavy special effects, it's just, like, it's doesn't you look at, like, something like Indiana Jones, like, the practical stunt work in Indiana Jones is remarkable, like, the things they did for real in those films is incredible. There's, like, the like, the bit in, Raiders of the Lost Ark where he hangs underneath, like that, you wouldn't shoot that for real, you'd shoot it completely differently, and it just wouldn't be as good then.
No, yeah, I agree. So, I think it's pretty obvious that that bus set piece of choreography is the desired
Mm.
sort of clippable moment from that film. And
Yeah,
to
it's
speak on
the
action
bit
films a
you'll
bit
remember
more,
coming up.
yeah, it's the bit it's the bit that's going to end up on social medias is like it's selling well at the box office, and then it'll show that clip of it fighting, and then it'll be used as
Yeah.
advertising for the film because that's one of the best bits of stunt work,
Mm,
like choreographed, um, like violence that I've seen in a very long time.
yeah,
Especially on the rewatch, I was like, yeah, I forgot how well they did that. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I just did want to also add, and this is for you, William, because I understand that you don't really like this word. It's a bit of like a bit of a curse word for you. But I've just done a bit of a Googleatron, and it describes this as an action thriller. It's a thriller, which
I don't like well, because I just don't know what thriller means, because it's a very
it's so
broad
vague.
word that doesn't
I really don't
like,
think
it's
that
like
this is
Jaws is considered a
as
thriller, and it's like, I guess
I
I
understand
guess
that.
by all
I
accounts,
understand that.
that makes sense for Jaws, but the fact that you can describe, like, Jaws and, like, this film as, like,
Nobody
a
in
thriller
the
is just
same
like,
breath.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
that's not like, genres, like, obviously, I know genres are bullshit. Like, they don't mean anything. They're just made up things. I understand that. But basically every other genre, make like comedy, that's a definable genre. Action genre. You know, animation is a medium, but it's like it is definable. Like,
Horror.
animation is a definable thing. Horror is defined. Like, thriller is they're basically horror films. Like,
Anything
let me
any
look up.
anything that like IMDb thinks is like, "Ooh, this has got a little bit of tension in it." Anything with tension, they call a thriller, which is just not the
Yeah,
case.
but
And
it's
as
like,
someone who and I've openly spoken about it on this podcast before, as someone who isn't a fan of horror, and I know it's outrageous to write off an entire genre, but as someone who just doesn't get the joy out of seeing that horror content,
yeah,
I just and it's like I don't get scared from it either. I just sort of get this like I just feel like I just don't really I feel sick. I feel
yeah.
like I don't
So
want to
I've
be
got
watching it.
here.
I
I've
just feel
gone
like
to my
the
letterboxd page, and I've just filtered it to films that are considered thrillers. Example. Here's a random selection: The Batman, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Captain America: Brave New World, Craven the Sis, like, you
sinners
know,
I get.
Mission Impossible 8.
Vampires are
Yeah,
vampires are traditionally a horror
it,
based
like,
concept. So I understand Sinners,
yeah,
but every other film that you'd mentioned previously to Sinners are just films with tension or that are
yeah.
slightly dark.
Like
Like this film is slightly dark, so
1917,
it's considered a
yeah,
thriller.
Uncut Gems, John Wick.
1917's outrageous.
These are
That's not a
not
thriller, it's a
thrillers.
war movie.
Yeah, The Dark Knight is listed as a thriller here, which is insane. The Dark Knight is not a thriller. It is an action film first and foremost. And it's a superhero. Get out of here. That's ridiculous. Like, half
But
of these, I would
it's the
just say
same
these are
issue that
horror
they're
films.
bringing. Yeah, and it's the same thing that they're bringing into Nobody as well. Any film that has a slightly dark undertone or dark tone, they go, boom,
Yeah,
it's not a comedy, so it has to be a thriller because there is not some constant joke that's easing the
Yeah.
tension. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where I differ from the idea that I like comedy. Like, I obviously am a huge comedy fan, but like, I, I, I don't think those like action comedies where it's like constantly again using comedy to break that tension. A good example of that is both an action movie and like a comedy would be something like Deadpool, but it's also a superhero movie. But something like Bullet Train, and I
Yeah.
know that I'm bringing up Bullet Train, but I think it is relevant in this. I
It's like your favorite
I
film.
know we've done it.
You
That bit,
talk about it so much.
because yeah, it's just such a perfect film. But yeah, I mean that's an action film, but it's also a
It is an
comedy.
action film, yeah.
But I wouldn't consider it a thriller, but it's that an action
Mhm.
comedy, and then you just get into this vague world of what genres are again. So thriller is just this constant fucking spanner that the film industry keeps throwing
Yeah.
into these films, like Nobody. Which then, when people see that, when people Google Nobody because they want to watch it, because they might want to go watch Nobody too, and they say thriller, and they know that horror movies make them feel uneasy. If you say thriller, that's an instant put off.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of thrillers are
It is an instant put off.
just homes. It's like thriller like 90% of films that are called thrillers are just like, "That's a horror film." Like,
Would you consider Memento a
they're
thriller?
just
Because I
horror
think it
called
is.
them
I
horror.
think Memento's.
I
Yeah, and I
think
agree.
Memento.
They're horror films with no sugar. They're like light horror films.
Yeah. Memento's a good one because I would say it's a drama, but it can't just be a drama. There's more to it than just a drama. Like, there's like
It's not a
that's the
comedy.
thing
I
is
wouldn't really
like
call it an action
it's not a
either.
comedy. Like, what is yeah? Because it's
Is it
like
like is it a detective film? Because he's like detecting his
well,
own,
it's listed here
almost like a.
as a thriller mystery on Letterboxd. I guess mystery is
I'd call
a
it a
genre, I
drama
guess.
mystery. A drama mystery. Knives Out, but
Yeah,
they'd probably call Knives Out a
yeah,
thriller because
because
it
again,
involves death.
well, thrillers are yeah, because thriller's not a genre. It's a bullshit genre. It's not real. Like that's it. It's not real. It's not a real genre that exists. Like it just like yeah, no,
Again, yeah,
I'd say mystery drama. Like because they are
and it
trying to
only.
solve a mystery. Like that's the whole point of the film. So
Yeah,
that's valid
and
genre.
it and it only serves the purpose to like I the way I see it to deter. I don't know how many people would be enticed to watch Nobody if they realized it was a thriller. I think they would like. There are
Yeah,
people that are horror fans, but then they would be disappointed watching the film and they'd be put off watching the second one. So you're attracting the wrong type of
yeah,
crowd when you mislabel when you use the word thriller at all. You're consistently attracting the wrong type of crowd. I again, there are justifiable cases where I'd say, yeah, it's thrilling, but I don't think that that makes it a thriller.
yeah.
I think thriller is another word for horror, but it's not
Yeah, it's
used that
horror, but
way
it
in the
doesn't
film
go quite
industry.
all the way.
It
It's like 2/3 of the way to being horror.
Yeah, and it's like a type of horror movie, but it doesn't allow for the audience or the consumers of this to get an accurate representation on what this film actually is. Because this film, for example, I'd call it almost purely an action until the last set piece where it's kind of a comedy. It's like a little bit,
Mm,
but like it's an action drama, you know. I
yeah.
don't know.
Back to Nobody properly. I was just thinking about this. Do you know the director from like? Have you seen Hardcore Henry, for example?
No, I haven't seen Hardcore Henry, but I did see. Uh, I saw. No, it's Hardcore Henry the
So I'm
POV.
just look.
The
Yeah, the POV
I
one.
know of
Yeah.
Hardcore Henry, but I can't
Hmm.
remember what I saw. I saw I don't know if I have seen anything from this director.
Ah.
I've seen that
Well,
they've
he's only got
recently come out with
three.
a new film with
Yeah.
is it Idris Elba and John Cena or something?
Yeah, and I think John Cena. Yeah, yeah. I've seen the Amazon Prime original. I haven't seen Hulk Henry either, but I've been meaning to because I've heard it's quite good. I was just I think he's very adept at making a great action film. I think there's a lot of personality to the action sequences. I was actually to talk about Marvel a little bit. I was just thinking, like, one of my big issues with Marvel right now is they don't have really interesting directors making films for them anymore. Like, I think there hasn't been anyone that interesting for a while, like in terms of who's leading a film, like who's directing a film
Yeah.
that they haven't used before. Like the Russo brothers are coming
Yeah.
back, but they don't count because they've done 4 films for them, so they don't count. Don't count Ryan Coogler doing Black Panther 3 because he's already done the first 2 Black Panther films. Like there just aren't interesting names behind the camera anymore doing stuff for them. You know, I think we're past the days of getting people like James Gunn, you know, like interesting talent like that directing those films because like
Yeah. And do you
they
know where I
like,
think it
and I
started
was
to
just
die
thinking
off? I
what.
think Mark Webb was patient zero. I think genuinely, like in the early 2010s, he had a come up. He had 500 Days
Well,
of
he did
Summer, and he
500
had
Days of
the
Summer,
amazing
which is a
Spider,
fantastic
and he had the
film.
amazing, and he
Like,
has the amazing Spider-Man series, and then that sort of killed it.
yeah, well, because I'm just getting up the directors who've done Marvel films just to get like of
But,
like who's done
yeah,
because
yeah,
like, I know the
but
name,
but while
but
you do that,
like
I do
yeah,
truly think we're on the tail end of people even caring now about who the director is. I feel like we used to, like, if it was Quentin
yeah,
Tarantino, it was Tarantino. If it was, like Scorsese, it was Scorsese. Finch, it's Finch. And now it's like,
yeah,
I don't care. Like how many, the amount of people I know where it's like,
yeah,
oh, well, what was the last, Edgar Wright film you saw? And they're like, oh, who? And I'm like, Shaun of the, like, Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, like
yeah, yeah,
Hot
yeah,
Fuzz, World's End, and they're like, "Oh, I've seen those
yeah.
ones. Yeah, yeah." I know that they're, like, loosely connected. He's the director, and I'm like, "Yeah, he did Scott Pilgrim." I'm like, I feel like a lot of people used to care more, but nowadays, whether it's just the people I'm running into, but even in online spaces, people aren't talking about the directors as much, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah, I've got here every MCU film I've got on the Wikipedia page, and just to choose some just early name Favreau. You know, he had a great, you
Yeah,
know, he's a great
of
comedy
course.
guy. Has you know, he
Chef is
established the
phenomenal.
tone. Yeah, Chef and Elf. You know, he done, but he had the comedy that he was able to bring to Iron Man. You know, he'd worked with like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. That you know, like he was in that area.
Yeah,
You know, you look at Joe Johnson, who you know he's a Steven Spielberg protege doing Captain America. You had Joss Whedon doing the Avengers. You know, more for writing, but you know he's a talent. You know he was like the guy you wanted. You know at that time. You know you had Shane
yeah,
Black 3, who basically invented witty repartee in the 80s with Predator and that kind of thing. You know the Russo brothers, who fantastic, you know, from Community and Arrested
yeah,
Development. James Gunn, Peyton Reed was a boring choice, but he was replacing who is like a fantastic guest. They unfortunately lost him because plans changed, which is unfortunate. But you know, Taika Waititi,
yeah.
fantastic, like a true auteur for the franchise. Ryan Coogler,
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing. You know, you had me doing Doctor Strange 2. It's a shame he had to come in as like a replacement because Sam Raimi's a fantastic filmmaker. Near DaCosta, who I think is a really great director, doing, but it's a shame the Marvels was utter shit that it didn't even matter.
Yep.
Like, but just looking at the
Yep.
recent names they know, they've had Sean and Matt Shakeman and Destin Daniel Cretton and Chloe Zhao and Kate Shortland, like just boring name, like not interesting behind the camera, and there just aren't people who are interesting enough making film, like directing There's no like really like I was thinking about this like a week ago or something. Like who are the interesting up and coming directors? And like the names that are springing to mind are Pop and Zach Krieger, and they work in horror, which isn't Marvel's thing really. But they're interesting talent. And I mean, I was thinking the guy who directed Nobody is a fantastic action filmmaker. So get him on board to make something. It doesn't need to be like a big film, but like in there, make something because he will make a great action film for you because he has a knack for it. He has the talent. Get some interesting voices behind the camera, and that's just what Marvel doesn't have right now. They don't have interesting voices coming in. Like get the guy through it all at once. A fantastic like multiversal story. They did it with Everything Everywhere. I'm sure they could do it for a Marvel film. Like they're just not interesting people behind the scenes making those
and if
films
you're
now.
looking at and it's not even exclusively Marvel. It's like, but yeah, absolutely get the director from Nobody to do something like that because you would just be given that like fantastic choreography, and you'd be given that vision of like, okay, this is what we're looking to do with the drama and the action, and especially on certain characters that maybe lean less on comedy. Now, for example, you mentioned two up and coming directors in the horror space. I did want to also just mention because I like to think that you're the horror voice and I'm the comedy voice, and then everything else is sort of in between.
Yeah.
But Akiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island, he is hitting strides in films. One of my favorite films of all time, Hot Rod, and then Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, and then currently now the new Naked Gun film, which I've heard rave reviews about. Like I've heard that it's actually
he's
really good. So to have
give
maybe
him some money.
a
Let him.
community character in the MCU with a voice to be, because his voice is very unique as well. Like
I'm just looking at a list of sort of up and coming directors, and because of the whole AI thing, like Jordan Peele is a name, and I think Jordan Peele is an excellent. They were trying, from what I understand, they were trying to get him in to do X-Men, which would have been good. I would have been all for that. And if he's not going to do X-Men, get him in to do Blade, because I feel like they want a black director to make up, which I totally get back that. But in my head, it shouldn't be difficult to make a Blade film. It's just like who kills vampires. Like that should be a slam dunk to get right. Like it's hard to mess that up. I feel like and just get Jordan Peele to do it because he'll give you a great script and he'll give you a good movie. Just let the industry, there is just not that many interesting talents making films, and a lot of the interesting talent are just all horror based guys, and that's great, and I'm all for that. But they just work in horror. Like Zach Krieger and Parker Finn are great talents who work in the horror space. So it's like there just not as many filmmakers with a true creative voice anymore. Which I think is really unfortunate. I fairly recently that the guy who did the first Nobody isn't doing the sequel, which concerned me a little bit when I heard that. So I was like, okay. I think part of why the first is because there's a great action director leading that film. And this first one, it does such a great job of it just much injection of character and personality. Like this was like a 90-minute film, which is incredible to find a film that is under 2 hours nowadays. Like, it
that's
is
something I was going to mention. I've constantly said that I think 90 minutes is perfect time for a film. I really don't think it should go any longer.
I'm gonna be on. Yeah, I was listening to like a podcast, and they were talking about like the Oscar film, and one of the hosts was just like, films should be 90 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, they should. And he's like, once you hit 2 hours, you should just quit. You can't make a film, write a novel, make a TV show, don't make a film. And I'm like, I mean, it's not that wrong. Like, because that's the problem. Is just films are getting way too long, and was so wrong to watch a 90-minute film. It gets in, it gets out, it does what it does, and it's perfect at that. Like, I don't need it to be anything else. I just need it. I don't need it to be a 2-hour film because I don't want that. I appreciate that it's a 90-minute film. To talk about the film, like, this isn't a film that we can really deeply analyze because it just isn't that kind of film, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I do want to talk about, though, Bob Odenkirk is leading this film. I'm a very big Bob Odenkirk fan. I don't know if we would have told Odenkirk before.
Yeah, I think we've touched on
Fan of
Bob
Bob
Odenkirk.
Odenkirk.
I mean,
I
someone
feel like
better
he
call Saul.
must have come up thing. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely would have at some point. I think he's a phenomenal actor, phenomenal talent.
Was it Incredibles related? Or
Oh
have we even ever done
yeah,
anything
he's incredible.
related?
Yeah, Incredibles 2 we talked about. Yeah, so that's probably when we would have talked about Bob Odenkirk. But if you haven't heard that, I think yeah, he's a phenomenal actor, and he's just one of those actors where I could kind of do anything and really be okay with it. Like he's just that
Yeah,
kind
and
of
he's had
actor where you
he's had
just
a
want to watch him.
huge yeah, and Breaking Bad really helped him break into larger scale films because he was always on like he was on
Yeah,
Seinfeld, he was on How I Met Your Mother, and those are two shows that I
yeah,
fucking adore. But
yeah.
Fargo, but yeah,
He was
like
doing he
Breaking
was doing
Bad,
the
Better
stuff
Call
with
Saul.
yeah, he was doing this like Miss with Bob with him and David Cross. Like he did, you know,
Yeah,
like SNL and stuff. You know, like he did a lot of like sketch stuff was where he really started his career and then moved on. And then yeah, I think Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul really shot him up into like the mainstream. It was like people know this guy, they love this guy. You know, like he's a beloved actor. I'm just looking at his career here. What's I think he's working. He's like doing a he's a I think he's a great actor. And I remember when I heard that he had had a heart attack very famously. Which
yeah,
it's not a good time. And apparently he kept getting into shape out for nobody to basically keeping him alive. He's like, yeah, getting in shape and working for that fairly is why I'm still alive. And I was like, well, shit. So that's a thing
great
I
film.
thanks. But yeah, I think great. But I think good in this film. He's really fun. Like this film has a nice sense of comedy to it too. Like it's an action film, but there's like little pepperings of it, which I'm on board with. I don't want everything to be just like a like drama and everything's just morbid and sad and serious. Like I like things to be fun. I don't want films to just be boring, like just dramas, because that's just not engaging all the time. Like, when they take stuff too seriously, I like it when I like, that's again another problem I have with John Wick is that bit too serious, a bit too po-faced, and they're a bit like, okay guys, we can have some fun with this. This isn't like, whereas nobody I think embrace the fun nature of what it's doing, which is what I like, and I appreciate that.
Have a quick look at the director of Nobody 2, just to get a bit of an insight and large horror
Yeah, I
background.
can't say I've heard of him
Um,
before or seen any of his other films. The name does
yeah,
not
no, I
ring a
can't
bell to
either.
me.
But I did all like as spell as well as not just Bob, not just sorry Bob Odenkirk, but also
Mm.
a lot of the cast in Nobody like does a really great job. I know the RZA's in this from Wu Tang. He plays Harry, the character
Yeah, I was
Harry,
gonna say who is
which yeah.
like that's obviously a stage name, but I didn't recognize like the stage name. But yeah, de facto leader of the Wu Tang Clan.
Yeah, the RZA, yeah, because there were the original members that you got the RZA, the Jizza, Method Man, Ghostface Killer, Old Dirty Bastard. Oh no, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna beat
I've just
myself up for the company of any of the other ones.
just got Jizza, Method Man,
RZA, Jizza,
Raekwon.
Method Man, Raekwon, Ghostface Killer, Old Dirty Bastard. Those are the original members, and there's like one or two more that I can't think of right now.
And then there's also Inspector Deck, You God, and Master
Inspector
Killer.
Deck. I'm such an ass for not remembering Inspector Deck. Inspector Deck's phenomenal. Yeah. I love Inspector Deck.
I don't think I've properly listened to a I'm certain I have heard Wu-Tang Clan songs, just like it, but I've not like gone away to like listen to like an album of that, which I probably should because they're quite well known, and I'm very aware of who they are.
Yeah, Wu-Tang's awesome, and the RZA specifically, I keep saying the RZA, but RZA specifically has always had quite a big thing from filmmaking as well. I think he was in the Man with the Iron Fists.
Nobody, because I don't remember who he was in.
Plays the character Harry Manziel.
Harry
Manziel.
But we've also got Christopher Lloyd.
Yes, Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown himself.
We talked about Back to the Future. Yeah, again, a couple years ago now. So go listen to that because we think Back to the Future is like the original is like one of the greatest films ever made. Basically, I know people don't like the sequels as much, and they are admittedly not as good. But I think they're still really great films. Like,
the Back to the Future.
But, yeah.
I mean, I would probably have a different opinion now to what I did, and I can't remember what I said in the Back to the Future video we did. But like currently now, I'd say my favorite's the third, and that is subject to change. It changes all the time. I really don't think that there is anyone that excels higher than the other. Christopher Lloyd, and I think everyone does love Christopher Lloyd for Back to the Future, right? You can't not look at him, and you can't look at him and not think Doc Brown.
That's kind of like Christopher Lloyd, and I think he's a really good actor, and I always love seeing him turn up in things. But he will forever be known as Doc Brown to me. Like, I've seen him in lots of other things. He will be Doc. And there's nothing wrong. Like, there are certain actors where I see them, and they're like that character to me forever. Like, I love Bryan Cranston. That's always Walter White to me, though. You know?
He'll always be that architect from How I Met Your Mother for me. No, I'm joking. But I do think that a lot of you're exactly right, man. It's a case of the sitcomitis. It's when characters become so synonymous, actors become so synonymous with a certain character that's all they're seen for, and it makes them really hard to book for future work. Now, Christopher Lloyd has a large enough resume that that's not an issue.
Yeah, no, there are certainly actors where they just are.
A lot of the cast of Friends, I mean, look, people still go, "Oh, Chandler passed away," and it's like, okay, well, no, Chandler didn't pass away.
Yeah, exactly.
The actor who played Chandler passed away.
Like people, exactly,
but they become attached to these characters, and it's the exact same thing with Doc Brown, and that character from Back to the Future.
I think that's also certainly an issue. Yeah, like with TV actors, you'll find it because it's sort of like because they play a character for so long. Like there's 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother or something, like 200 something episodes for that show.
Yeah.
Like they'll always, playing a character for so long, they'll be like known as that character. I've watched all of Dexter recently, and the guy who plays Dexter, Michael C. Hall, he's always going to be Dexter to me, no matter what I watch him in, because I've seen 100 something episodes where he's playing Dexter. So it's like he'll always be that character. That's not his fault, obviously. It's just he'll always be Doc Brown to me, but yeah, he's sort of gone beyond that. Yeah, and that's just sort of how the how the sort of the like how people react to things and how it sort of works.
And there is a certain way you can do it that pretty much ensures you're fiery. Oh, well, I mean, it depends. I think Seinfeld is a very interesting case where all but George and Kramer, I guess, so like Elaine and Jerry, but Jerry, like the show was named after him. he's the star of the show and he's also a real comedian, and it blurs that line. So yeah, he'll always be seen as Jerry Seinfeld, but that's because he is Jerry Seinfeld. And I feel like that's one of the only true ways you can do it without becoming that character permanently.
But like in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he like the main character is called in that show. It's like, you know, like, so, which from what I've gathered was basically a preemptive, that's what people are going to call you, because this is going to be, it's like, well, I'll just call my character Will Smith then, and that's just what, you know. But anyway, back to Nobody, which is what this whole episode is about. Yeah, I just really like it. It's really fun. It's like that's just what anime should be. They should be fun. I don't want to watch a like a really serious action film, because that's not enjoyable. That's just sort of that's not why I go to an action film, really. Like, I go to an action film just for fun. You know, that's what they represent to me. It's just pure fun. And that's what I want. I don't want to be like thinking again, going back to John Wick, they're very, very bleak, serious films, and that's just not entertaining to me. And it's hard to take those movies seriously when John Wick and just rooms of bad guys. Like, he's killing 20 guys in a room. They're not getting a single shot on him, or he's just like shrugging a bullet. He's just shrugging it off. It's like that's just boring. That's just not fun. You know, like, that's just not what I want. You know.
Yeah, the action film, and Nobody does it so well, but it's the equivalent to like the music that gets played at a party, where it's like Rockstar by Nickelback, or Long Neck Ice Cold, or Beer Never Broke My Heart by Luke Combs, or Chicken Fried, Zach Brown Band, where it's like, I don't think there's anyone that's genuinely listening to these songs worrying about the emotion of, you know, Rockstar, where it's like, we're all gonna be big rock stars and live in hilltop houses driving 15 cars. Like, no, it's because it kind of makes you want to go, oh, hell yeah. Like, this song is cool. Like it's like, yeah, mansions and cars and hell yeah, and girls, and like a little bit of chicken fried cold beer on a Friday night. It's like, yeah. Like, hell yeah, brother. Ken from Barbie, and like how they portray men. And that's kind of what action films are. They're not only obviously done for men, women can do the same thing, but it's like part of male pop culture, like that male sphere. And all that, the sort of stereotype of what is like a man and manly. And I think Nobody just does it so well with its choreography. Like, not only, again, we're going to spend an hour talking about choreography, but I feel like a lot of it's like sound work design as well is quite well done. I think like character motivations. Editing. The scene of Christopher Lloyd with it was just like a shotgun.
Oh, that's fantastic. And he's got like his hand over the guy's mouth while the guy's just dying, and he's just like still looking at his TV, just not moved at all. And he just pulls a shotgun out. I love that's such a. It like doesn't make any sense, really. It's like, does he just have a gun there? But I'm a big fan of characters who just pull a weapon out of nowhere, even if it's inconceivable. They just like pull a gun out of nowhere. It's just funny to me. Like I like that.
Yeah, no, and I think it's really well, really well done and executed. And I just wanted to touch on that final scene before we wrap up. But there's a shot where it's RZA, Bob Odenkirk, and Christopher Lloyd all standing there, and they look like aged up versions of the GTA 5 cast. Like, they're dressed the same in a similar way as well. Like, but it's very like, also, I want to talk about action. Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the greatest action films never made. At least that end bit, like where they're all sort of standing there with the guns and they're in the bank, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, this is fun. This is cool. And you can clearly tell that Bob Odenkirk's character looks so out of place. And that's obviously the choice for it. He's supposed to look like a nobody. John Wick looks like a mercenary badass. Like, Keanu Reeves looks like a cool guy. Bob Odenkirk looks like a divorced dad. And in the nicest way possible. And I love him, but you know what I mean?
Exactly. He doesn't fit that stereotype of what you expect, like an action stereotype. He's like, 60-year-old guy who, he can kick ass, but he's not a young man anymore.
And that's such a good point to get into, because when you're dealing with these action films of, like, let's say if they made another Die Hard with Bruce Willis, right? The story would be, oh, I'm not a young man anymore, and it's like, but it doesn't feel like a cash grab because it's an original story. Like it's taking this concept that's only ever used for cash grabs for, okay, let's extend our time with this IP. Let's make some more money based off nostalgia, and then bring back an old, tired actor to fulfill this. Or we come up with something original, but keep that theme of I'm too old for this shit. Like, I'm over it, and it's such a unique place to start off from for an action film. I think it's executed really well. I don't feel like the tone it sets.
I think
is like it's consistent.
There's a beautiful simplicity to this. Yeah, there's a beautiful simplicity to this film, which is fine. I need it to be like a massive. I'm fine with simplicity. Like, simplicity is a good thing. Like, it is okay to make things simple sometimes. More people understand this. Put a rating on.
Yeah, I eight. I give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's without its. I think there's a point or two towards the end where it starts to get lost a little bit, but I don't think it's like too big of an issue. I just think the transition between, like, where it starts to become a little bit more goofy, you sort of go, okay, like that wasn't really set up throughout the film much. But that being said, the film does a job. Does a decent job on, like, doing it well enough that it's not jarring. It's just a bit like, oh, okay, we're doing this now, instead of like that consistent tone. But I think I don't know whether or not that's even quite a negative. So I'll give it an 8.
I mean, I give it a really solid 8 out of 10 out of 10 as well. I really like it. It's just you can't have a bad time watching it. Like, you really can't. It's a simple, slick 90-minute action film, and it does a great. And I'm a big fan. 8 out of 10. And we're talking about this because there's a sequel coming out this week. Have you seen the trailer for this sequel at all?
I've seen, like, there's an ad before a YouTube video that I've ultimately skipped. But I haven't reached out and watched the entire show.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the trailer. It looks a lot better than I was expecting. I didn't want it to be bad, but because there's a different guy coming in to do it, I was a bit of like, but it does, because, well, he's on vacation. That's like the hook of this one. He's on vacation. Which is fine. It gives us a completely new area, new ballpark to play in. There's a lot more opportunities for newer things to do, which is good, because I don't want them to do like the same thing again. Setting it like he's on vacation. There's like on a boat, and like in like art stuff, which I think is good, because it just gives us something new to play with. It looks quite. I'm looking forward to be good. And the trailers look good, so I wouldn't be like completely surprised. Like, at best, I couldn't as good as the original. Like, I could very easily see that, but I don't think it'll be bad. I think it will be good. But I'm going in with decently high expectations. I'm expecting good things from it, because the trailer looks good. But I think that's pretty much it. If you have anything final you'd like to say.
No, I think that's about about it. I do have something I want to mention, but that'll be after the record.
After the record, okay. Thank you, Harry, for joining me for this week, as you have done many times now. Excited. But yes, thank you once again, Harry, for this week.
Again, thank you once again for having me.
I hope you all enjoy listening, and I'll see you all in one